So for this video, I'm going to talk about tips for the listening and give you some ideas and strategies for what you can do in order to improve your listening skills and then get a higher score on the listening test. Basically, in this presentation, there are really two stages to this. Of course, the first stage is your preparation before you actually take the listening test, what you can do to improve your listening skills. And then the second part of this presentation will actually talk about the test day itself and what you need to do while you're taking the IELTS listening test. So let's begin with the first part, which is about the preparation that you can do in order to improve your skills. So the first fundamental thing about improving listening is to get exposure. And by exposure, I mean listen to as much spoken English as you can. Basically, the more you listen to, the more familiar you become with the sounds of English and the way the language is spoken. So there are two main areas that you can look at. The first, of course, is to do IELTS specific practice, and basically that means listening to sample IELTS tests. Now, for free material, a great place to start is IELTS.org. And if you go to the section for the students, you will be able to get some free downloads of individual test sections. As it's absolutely free, so there's no reason why you should not start and go through those. I'm not sure how many there are on the website, but I believe there are something like at least 4 or 5 different listening passages that you can use along with the questions. And then, of course, the second place to look is IELTS practice tests, which are in published books, and there is the Cambridge series of practice tests, which are collections of past IELTS tests that have been made public. They're always good to play and listen to get more practice, but of course there are other tests that are prepared for students to learn from. So it's always a good idea to get one of those books. Usually one book will have something like 3 or 4 listening tests, which is quite a lot of material for you to work with, and that offers a lot of practice there. So IELTS specific material is good. The second way to get exposure is what I call general exposure, and of course this is getting listening practice from non-IELTS kind of sources. Now, we are so lucky in today's modern age where there is so much spoken language available on the internet for free, so there's all sorts of things you can do. Here are a few suggestions from me. The first thing I would really recommend is to download some of the BBC World Service podcasts. They are absolutely excellent for listening, completely free. They're supported with worksheets and scripts for what the people are talking about, and also they cover lots of interesting vocabulary, so you can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can develop your vocabulary and you can develop your listening skills all in one time. In fact, they're so good, I'll show you the pictures here. So these are just the pictures. Once again, to find them, go to BBC World Service podcasts and you'll find these. The English We Speak and 6-Minute English. Now you can see that these podcasts are not going to be very long. They're about 5 or 6 minutes long, which is ideal practice for you. So I strongly recommend that you access these podcasts. Of course, podcasts aren't the only thing. You have websites like YouTube and all types of things there that you can explore yourself. Television is quite popular, and radio shows are quite popular as well. So have a look round there. If you're watching television or any kind of video, then be a bit careful in that if the program has subtitles, then that's probably a no-no, because you will focus on the subtitles rather than actually concentrate on listening to the spoken English. Again, sometimes the visuals in videos can be distracting. So in many ways, the pure audio can be better for you since it forces you to actually concentrate on the spoken English. But really, the main point is to get as much exposure as you can. So, also, don't forget that these videos are also good listening practice. And in fact, of course, you are using your listening skills to understand and follow this video and all of the others in the series. Okay, now after exposure, you also need to get organised, because it's all nice to hear these tips and strategies, but you also have to have a plan for actually getting them done. So here's some ideas about how to organise yourself so that you do actually put aside the time and actually do the listening. So 3 tips really. Firstly, it's a good idea to schedule the listening practice into your routine. So that means just like there are jobs that you have to do, you need to see that practice is not just something you do when you feel like it. You need to make an appointment and commit yourself to actually doing some listening practice. Another good tip is not to spend too much time, so that it doesn't feel too difficult or too much of a heavy task for you. 10 minutes a day, or maybe just 10 minutes 4 times a week will be plenty. And then if you do that, of say 4 or 5 listening sessions every week for about 10 minutes, and you do that over a month, then by the end of that month, your listening skills will have improved. Now, as well as getting organised, you do need to be quite serious, and you need to be active in your learning. One of the problems with listening is that it is quite easy to listen but not pay attention. And you need to be careful of this, because the IELTS listening test requires you to actually listen and pay attention, to be serious, or if you like, to listen in an active way. So you need to think about how you're going to commit yourself. And here are some tips on, if you like, serious or active listening. The first thing, as I mentioned earlier, is to keep your practice sessions short. Now, I've written 5 minutes here. Before I said 10 minutes, so there you go. But 2 minutes, what I mean here is, if you have a 10-minute session, listen 5 minutes first, take a short break, and then listen for another 5 minutes. And in fact, that is how the IELTS test is set up. You will only listen to the audio for about 4 or 5 minutes at a time before there is a short break, and then you listen for another 4 or 5 minutes. So the second thing is, you should also get into the habit of listening with pen and paper. So what I mean by that is, as you listen, you make notes. It's not just a passive experience where you just sit back and let the sound wash over you. You actually have to interact with the sound by making notes. Another good thing to do is to listen and write a summary of what you heard. So as you listen, you're making notes, you're writing down key words. Then when the listening text stops, you can sit down and write a summary of all of the information that you listened to. And once again, if you can do that at a regular interval several times a week, that's going to be the thing that will improve your listening skills. So that's preparation. Let's look at the test day now. And here are a few tips for when you listen on the test day. Now, the first 30 seconds means that before the audio begins, you have 30 seconds to read the questions. And this is a really important time. You must use this 30 seconds efficiently. And of course, the most important thing is to read the questions carefully. Once you've read the questions in the first 30 seconds, then you'll have some idea about what information that you need to listen to. So a simple example, of course, is if the question says, what time do they agree to meet? Then, of course, you know that you need to listen out for a time. As the audio plays, make as many notes as possible. Even if perhaps you're not sure that it's related to the question, still make the notes. You're allowed to write as you listen, and all of the as much key information as you can catch is going to help you to answer more questions. Now, at the end of the test, you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers. And this is when you check the grammar, the spelling, and also you answer every question. While the audio is playing, it's probably better not to worry about the grammar and not to worry about the spelling. Just try to get the facts and the key words accurate. Then, at the end, you can look at your notes, you can look at what you've noted down as the answer, and then you might need to rewrite those notes in the correct grammatical form that fits the answer. The same with spelling. With your notes, you can use notation form, but then you have 10 minutes at the end and you can change your notation into accurate spelling. The last 10 minutes is also a good point to make a few guesses. The listening test is marked in terms of how many correct answers that you get. So don't worry there will be some answers that you don't know, and don't worry about them. However, it's a good idea to just make a guess. Even if you're completely unsure about some of the questions, you might as well put a guess in, because an empty answer is definitely wrong, and a guess, maybe you are improving your chances of getting that point correct. There are no penalties for wrong answers, so answer every question, even if it is a guess. There we go. They are some tips for performing better in the listening test. And I'll see you on the next video.